All right, welcome back to the Crave Show. You're here with Chris, JRuss, and we got Johnny Gunn with us this week. How you doing, Johnny?
Good. How are you?
Very good, man. It's nice to have you.
I
I've heard
appreciate
heard a lot of stuff about you. Mostly good, mostly good. No, just kidding.
it. If
No,
you're from JRuss, then it's all
yeah, it's all
suspect.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, man. Thanks for joining us. Really, really cool, man.
I appreciate
JRuss, how's it going?
It's good. Just I'm in a remote setting with some screaming kids because we're driving to Utah for team training, and this was a road stop that was convenient along the way. So I'm gonna try to mute myself very often, keep those screaming kids under control.
Yeah, very nice.
But Johnny, the thing that I didn't do, which I tell everybody else, but I might have told you in the past, but concussed goldfish and all that, is that you needed to prepare some bio information. So, like, tell
it.
us about you. Who are you? Who's Johnny Gunn?
I'm a happily married family man that has been skydiving now for 21 years. Seems like blink of an eye. Did 11 years in the Air Force and the Special Operations community. Got out and wanted to plan to compete in skydiving and be able to grow in it. And yeah, luckily I had a very, very extremely patient and supportive wife that wanted to support me in that, and has been my biggest cheerleader the whole time, and kind of became the partner in crime with it through work and skydiving and everything else. So
Does she jump also?
she does. She has. It's been a while. I think her last solo jump was in 2017. She waited till after a decade that we were together to finally go, yeah, I think I want to skydive. And granted, we were living close to a drop zone, and more specifically Skydive Arizona, so it was very accessible. And um, I did, my best friend Marty Rhett and I did her first jump course in her Cat A, and then I did every jump with her after that, and she was like, not being biased, not over exaggerating, she was the best student I've ever had. Like, she's a yoga teacher. She played D1 college soccer, and she'd been around it for a decade. She picked it up quick and absolutely crushed it. And the 25 jumps get her A license.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. I think jumping with your wife or your significant other or whatever, girlfriend, I think that would be really. My wife doesn't she's done one tandem. I've gotten her in the tunnel like 2 or 3 times, but I just say it just sounds so fun. Like,
Yeah,
it's really cool.
it's really cool.
Okay, I'm not done with Johnny's bio.
What? He told
So
us everything.
yeah. So describe what SEER is to everybody.
Here. So my 11 years that I was on active duty, I was a survival, evasion, resistance, and escape specialist. Um, Basically a glorified Boy Scout in some senses. So we taught aircrew members and other individuals how to survive in any environment, how to evade capture if they found themselves behind enemy lines, to resist interrogation, and how to escape if they got caught.
Okay, so I mean, obviously there's stuff you can't talk about, but I know that it's not a glorified Boy Scout. Way more than that. That is like understatement of the year. I mean, come on.
I think, I personally, and I am biased about this, but I do think it's. I mean, there's no bias about it. It is one of the hardest career fields to get into in the Air Force, and if not the military, as far as like how hard it is and the length of training and all that, and the interview process and whatnot. But man, you get to do so much cool stuff, like so many cool things. I was initially recruited to wrestle on the All Air Force team to wrestle freestyle and Greco-Roman back in the early 2000s. And so I joined the Air Force with the intent of doing 4 years wrestling at the world level. I was going to get out. I was going to go back to college and have college paid for with the GI Bill, and then go be a wrestling coach after that ran its course. And that was kind of going to be the rest of my life. About a week and a half into boot camp, I realized that I could only work with about 2 of the 65 guys that were in our barracks. Just because we had different mindsets, and there was about a week and a half in, they go, hey, all right, all the males, you have to go to the selective combat briefs to go see if you want to do stuff. Anybody that wants to do it, like you can volunteer, blah, 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 blah. And so when I was in college, I was going to school for secondary education to be a high school teacher. And the first brief I went to, they were like, yeah, you get to be in the woods a lot. Okay, check, sounds awesome. You get to teach, check, sounds great. You don't get a lot of food, you don't get a lot of water. I grew up wrestling, not a big deal. You get to jump out of airplanes, you get to go to dive school, you get to work in search and rescue, all things that sounded absolutely amazing. So I volunteered, and that put the wrestling career on the back burner for about 2.5 years. It was about a 2 year to 2.5 year pipeline to where you're fully certified to be an instructor. Um, yeah, and then after that wrapped up, I went and wrestled for the All Air Force team for a couple years.
So you did get to wrestle.
I did, and it was a lot of fun. Much harder at the world level.
Any memories that stand out, or stories, or anything that, like, when you think back to those times?
Yeah, it was definitely a rude awakening. Like all the coaches that I had in the past were coaches that I kind of grew up around, had known you've worked with them in clubs, and now I'm with a coach that I didn't know me, I didn't know him. He was known for being pretty hard on the new guys. He was exceptionally hard on me. I tend to, carry a sense of confidence and want to be there for a reason. And he wanted me to cut an insane amount of weight, to a weight that I hadn't been since junior high. But I ended up convincing him to let me wrestle the weight class up, tried out for the team. He told me I wouldn't make it. And the guy I had to beat was an All-American from the Air Force Academy. And I walked on the mat, pinned him in about 30 seconds, looked at the coach, and I was like, man, does this mean I'm on the team? And he was like, get in the showers. And I was on the team. But I got to wrestle with some amazing dudes, amazing training partners. I spent a few months training at the Olympic Training Center, which was amazing to be around because you can take those principles and that lifestyle and translate it to anything in life. And albeit a loss, it sucks to go out with your career with a loss. But I lost the Armed Forces Championship to a gentleman, Oscar Wood, that wrestled in the Olympics in 2004, the year prior. Lost him by a couple points. We My young 22-year-old semi-arrogant self couldn't score a point on him, so I decided to headbutt him with about 7 seconds left in the first round, right dead square in the bridge of his nose, just to see if I could get him riled up and maybe score a point. Ref blows the whistle, the round's over. There's no penalty points. Oscar was, I think, 30 or 31 at the time. This match is where I learned that there's a difference between a 30-year-old man and a 22-year-old man, strength-wise, everything else. And he walked straight up to me and put both hands on the side of my head and headbutted me in my eye in the middle of the round. And I looked at the ref and I was like, man, you're not going to do anything? And he was like, son, you did it first. And he was on the Army team. I was on the Air Force team. The bench is cleared. We were at the Olympic Training Center. There was almost a big brawl between the two teams.
Oh, dude.
So then I had a shiner. My eye was swelled shut. He ended up beating me by a couple points. That was Saturday night. Monday morning, we rolled in. So we combined with the Army team to train after the Armed Forces Championships. And I rolled into Fort Carson to go train with the Army team. And my training partners for the next month were Glenn Garrison and Oscar Wood from the Army team.
Dude, that's awesome.
And he was the absolute kindest human being I've ever met.
Wow.
As long as you weren't wrestling him in a match.
Are y'all still connected? You ever talk to him?
No, man, I haven't talked to him or seen him since that day, or since that time. Yeah. But he was just very kind, super humble, family man, and he helped me out a lot. And the next few months after that.
That's cool. That's a good story, man.
Yeah.
So what about, like, I know JRuss has more questions, but he's muted, so I get to talk. Connections, like things that you learned in wrestling or SEER or whatever that have helped you in skydiving and training and progressing, all that stuff.
Absolutely. So my last season with the Air Force team was in '05. We got done, I think, probably April, or I came home April, end of March, beginning April of '05, and was working at a new unit, unbeknownst to me. And because I was in good shape and worked hard, the unit sent me to the basic airborne school right after that to go to paratrooper school, to go to Fort Benning and learn how to do, infantry style static line out of C-130s. And I was like, man, this is cool. You're doing static line at 1,000 feet, but I want to go to Halo school. I want to skydive. So I started skydiving shortly after that, and was absolutely hooked immediately. Like I was all in, um, doing as much as I could. But what you got, JRuss?
Before we go too far away from this, can you explain the cool parts about a static line from 1,000 feet?
I can more now because I didn't have any perspective then. But you're in a C-130 with 40 other people, and you're getting out at 1,000 feet with a static line round on your back, probably doing, they say 130 knots, man, but you're probably doing 150, 160 knots.
Jeez. Which
And
is what? Is that like close to 200?
probably 185-ish
Jeez.
miles per hour.
Gosh.
And you have a reserve, belly mounted reserve. And you, the opening shock is pretty considerable on a T10 parachute. And you're falling probably at about roughly 15 feet per second, 12 to 15 feet per second. And you have to do the most dynamic PLF you've done in the hot Georgia sun, and try not to, hurt yourself, because you've got 4 more jumps or 3 more jumps after that to graduate the course.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I mean, really a lot of cool things in that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to do it. Let's go tomorrow. Is it
Yeah.
out of the tailgate, or is it? It's not a side. You can't go
No,
out the side
we were
door,
doing
can you?
side door. We were doing side door.
At that speed?
Oh yeah, yeah. So
Oh, are people hitting the side of the plane?
It's even
planes have
worse.
the planes have a wind deflector that goes out. So
Oh, they do.
There's a deflector, so you can make it about 1.5 feet out of the plane before you hit the relative wind. So you exit with authority in a tucked position with your butt. You're basically butt flying, to the relative wind, and your canopy opens going that way. So the opening shot pulls your head that way. I don't know why I have any neck issues. Um, and yeah, it's a violent, small car crash.
Jeez. And what is the canopy? A T10? Is that what you called it?
That was a T10. Yeah, I don't know what they jumped.
It's just a round canopy.
Yeah.
Can you steer it at all?
You can do a slip. So
What does that mean?
you can pull a riser and try and bring the lower lateral band down a little bit to point that into the wind.
Okay.
But you got to kind of time it right, because if you pull it down too early, too hard, then you're going to run with the wind, and then you're going to do a little bit of a downwinder to do a PLF.
So you can't really steer it.
Those ones you can't. The majority of my static line jumps were either on C9s, which are designed to be one-time use bailout parachutes for fighter jets, C-130s, C-17s. And we did testing on those and did demo jumps on those for air crew. But the majority of mine were on MC-1-1 Deltas. So those have a vents in the back of it, and little steering toggles, and you can actually steer those. I mean, they don't steer like a square parachute, but you can steer.
It's still a round canopy.
It is. It's still round.
So you're just opening vents on the back, and that.
No. The vents are there.
What did the steering toggles do? I don't understand.
Pull down the lateral band, lower lateral band, to get it to create more drag on one side.
Okay, so it's just deforming that side of the canopy a little bit to slow it down.
And so that way it dumps the air harder out of the vents in the back.
Okay, I got you. And just gives you a gradual turn that direction or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And I think I may have digressed from Chris's question about carrying wrestling into skydiving and everything else, but wrestling for sure has been a part of my life ever since the day I did it. The work ethic, the drive, all of that has bled into everyday life. Again, work ethic, competing in skydiving. It's just, a little easier on the body, surprisingly.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back up. Sorry about the screaming kid. Johnny, give us a brief rundown of your accolades in skydiving.
Accolades in skydiving.
Let's ratings, winnings,
Okay.
because we're going to talk about some stuff that it's important for people to know the sort of the bona fides that you have.
For sure. Let's do ratings first. In the military, I was static line jump master, military free fall jump master, military free fall instructor, military tandem tethered bundle instructor, multi-mission parachute course instructor. I think that's about all of them. Military tandem examiner.
That's all of the ratings you can get, right? You have every military jump rating you can call for.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's cool.
It kind of, I don't want to say it just kind of happened, but it was also kind of a loose plan because I didn't know if I was going to stay in the military, but I did know that I wanted to stay involved with military free fall, and I wanted to be useful and be able to do different stuff and be able to be hireable and all that. And so I made it a point to try and chase as much of that as I could. And was fortunate enough to be in a unit that I was able to get most of that stuff at and do it at a fairly high level for as far as the military is concerned.
Were any of those ratings or certifications, whatever you call them, were any of them difficult to get?
For sure. Difficult in different ways. The military tandem tethered bundle.
Yeah. What is that?
So you jump essentially up to a 400-pound bundle strapped to your chest on a tandem system, and you push the bundle out, you follow the bundles on a tether below you, and then you've got a drogue just like a tandem system above you.
Okay. Tethered bundle tandem.
Yeah.
I get it. Okay. So the tethered bundle is your tandem student, but it's just hanging below you.
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's hard in itself just because it's pretty hard on the body.
Wait, did you say that it can weigh up to 400 pounds? Did you say that?
Yeah.
And okay, he's not doing it justice. Like, hard on your body is one way to say it. Kicks the shit out of you is another way to say it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. The openings are a car crash, and there's two of them during the opening. And like, I don't want to speak out of turn because there's some of this stuff is pretty private, but they are the most fun things to work right now is that course that Johnny's talking about. But also when things go wrong, you remember that we're doing really serious shit because it goes real wrong.
I mean, can you share something about that? What you mean by that?
Not really. Not really.
That's fine.
They get dynamic.
Okay, I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and if you can answer, you can. I'm interested in how the process, like the first 10 seconds of that jump is what I'm interested in.
You push the bundle out and you let it go away from you. And as it goes away from you, you either have a drogue setter or you set the drogue, and then you're under drogue fall.
Okay, but there's got to be more to it. I'm imagining this tether, 400 pounds. Where is it connected to you? And this thing, when you get line stretch on that tether, that's got to suck.
It's depending on how good you are at pushing it out and exiting. It can vary greatly.
Okay, what does that mean? What would make it really bad, and what would make it? Oh, that was a pretty good one.
If you push the bundle out at an angle, and the wind caught the bundle on its side and it flung it up above you, that's not where you would be at.
Oh gosh, dude.
Yeah.
So when that thing, I mean, because I'm imagining that 400 pounds is pulling you down, and then your drogue is pulling you back. It just seems like it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, you're still accelerating the whole time, and it's not the worst thing in the world for sure.
Okay.
The openings are far worse.
Okay. Yeah. That's crazy.
Okay, we're going to back up a little bit.
The question was, were any of those hard to get? Those certifications?
So the tether bundle, it was definitely harder on the body. I was fortunate enough to do it. I had like 15,000 jumps when I did it, so flying the bundle and all that wasn't that difficult. and I'd been around it and helping essentially coach it, teach it, video it for many years. And it was, I don't want to say it was easy, but it wasn't that difficult compared to a young military dude that's just getting into it.
Yeah.
Then the other course that was extremely difficult for me because of it at the time was the military free fall instructor course. The minimum requirements to go there at the time when I went was to be a jump master and have 100 skydives. And then you go through basically about an 8-week course. The first week's all tunnel, and then the next 7 weeks is all jumping. But I was skydiving on my own even before I went to the basic military free fall course. And so I had about 350-ish jumps when I went to the instructor course, which is loads of experience, over 100 skydives, and I had quite a bit of tunnel time leading up to that due to my buddy that was running the parachuting program at the time. But as far as that was the first time I ever did 6 jumps a day, 5 days in a row, 7 weeks in a row, with it working on a skill set. There's wickets you have to pass, like doing a check ride to become a pilot. There's different stage checks and all that. It was a smoker, and we were doing it in Yuma, Arizona, in the late spring, early summer. So on top of that, it's 105 degrees outside, and you're packing outside, and yeah, it adds up as the days go on.
So 1 or 2 days wouldn't be bad, but for 7 weeks nonstop, like that's a lot.
You're getting after it.
Yeah.
But they turn out a good product. I mean, especially with guys with that little experience. I wouldn't say they're really good, well-rounded skydivers. Like some of the most dangerous jumps I've ever been on was going out with 10 military free fall instructors from Yuma. But as far as flying with students at a low jump numbers, being young in the sport, that have only trained that and have only built good habits, they're exceptionally good very early on.
Mm-hmm. Within their skill set, they're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
They know what they're talking about within that area. That's cool.
That little narrow window.
Hey, that's what they need to know, and that's what they're good at.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's the ratings, accolades. Started competing in 2012 and two-way free fly. Do you want to hear the story? Or you want me to just run through the accolades? It's up to you guys.
It's your show.
Okay. We'll do that story, and then I'll just run through the rest of the accolades, because this one's like still probably my happiest competition moment. Sorry, JRuss. But it's my best friend Marty Rhett and I he's a recon Marine. We were both at the free fall school, and we got asked by the 1-star asked the course director why we didn't have anybody that competes in skydiving. And Jimmy called me and he goes, hey, he's like, dude, you skydive, you and Marty skydive every weekend, like figure it out. And I looked at the skydiving side of it and was like, man, there's nobody else that can shoot video or anything that we want to do. And so this is 2012. The IBA had just started the IBA tunnel tour comp throughout the U.S. So I sold it to them that he and I would go up and compete in Seattle. This is what we need to do to train. We were both a couple of the lead tunnel instructors for the unit. So we would go back a couple days early to the tunnel sessions, train 5-6 hours a day in the wind tunnel. And we're getting paid to do it, which is great. And as it's leading up to it, we found out there was another one in San Francisco, or I Fly SFA. And so I ran the numbers real quick, and I was like, man, for like $500 more, we can hit that comp and this comp, and we'll at least get a warm up. So the Army paid Staff Sergeant Johnny Gunn and Staff Sergeant Marty Rhett to go to San Francisco for a week, compete in a comp. We did okay there, but then we went to Seattle, competed in that comp, and won it. And we got back, and they were like, man, we want you guys to go to Worlds, like go to the World Meet. And
wait, y'all won in Seattle?
We did.
Dude, that's awesome.
We won the advanced class.
Hey, so, winning's winning.
But we can't go to the World Meet. We're not in open.
Oh,
we didn't tell them that. We didn't tell them that. We just wanted to bring home gold.
I got
to make sure that they were happy, and they were going to keep paying for us to skydive and do cool shit.
I got you. So now you're like,
yeah. So when they asked that, I'm pretty witty, pretty quick thinking, and I was like, all right, I can come up with something. So I looked it up and I was like, oh man, USPA Nationals is in like 6 months. I was like, I got a better idea. What if Marty and I go compete at US Nationals? It's in Eloy. Like we can go there, we can represent the free fall committee, blah, 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 blah. The only caveat is we need a video guy. And Marty and I were working at Skydive Elsinore at the time. And I got to plug this in, it's going to die. So we were working at Skydive Elsinore at the time. And we're very fortunate enough to be able to work with Andy Malchiotti, who was a current world champion and two-way free fly. And I talked to Malchiotti and I was like, hey man, I need a videographer. He was like, hey, do you know so-and-so? And I was like, man, I met him a couple years ago in line at Chicks Rock Boot. We kind of hit it off. We talked in line. We ate food together. And that was the last time he and I talked. And he was like, man, this dude will be perfect to be able to handle you and Marty's personalities. And I was like, you think so, man? Like he's got the skill set. He can't have that many jumps. He's like, dude, he's been getting after it. He's been going to Colorado to the tunnel a bunch, Brett Poole, and yada, yada.
Let me just point out that the biggest issue that Johnny's talking about is handling personalities. And I'm saying the guy he's talking about can handle all the personality, but I don't know Marty, but I know Johnny and I know the other guy. And handling personalities was the prereq to be on the team.
Yeah. So the gentleman was Andy Locke, who has become one of my absolute best friends. We've done some of the most amazing things in skydiving together. And he's now, we work together every day with what we do now. And just like that was the kind of the origin story of competition for us. And we showed up to nationals other than putting together a routine. Like we didn't know anything about competing. We didn't know how the scoring was. We didn't know any of it. And I think it was through round 5, Malchiotti was still competing with SoCal Converge. And he was like, man, like, how you guys doing? I was like, I don't know, dude. Like, we're just competing. He was like, well, what's the score? And I'm like, well, dude, I don't know. Where do we find the scores?
We're just jumping out of the airplane, bro.
And he was like, you haven't watched a single round of yours? And we're like, no. And we were 0.2 of a point outside of first place to the Air Force team who does this every single year. And it got close. I think we might have gotten ahead and around, but we ended up losing by like 0.2 of a point or something like that. So we got second place.
Wow.
So that was a start. So Nationals 2012, started a VFS team here with some folks in 2014, Arizona X-Force. Did that till it ran its course, which would have been 2017, 2018. Me and one of my teammates from that team started Arizona Anthem, who went on to win the World Championships in 2024. So we started that team. I was on that for a couple years. At the end of that season, I had something pretty traumatic happen in my family. So I was going to step away from not necessarily competing, but I asked to be the alternate of the team. That way I could focus on me and my wife. And we were I was working a military contract with JRuss. And we were talking, and he was saying that SDC Corps needed a new videographer, and my shoulder was really banged up at the time and was having a hard time flying on the inside for VFS, but still loved competing. And so we chatted, and I chatted with my wife and joined SDC Corps and was able to win a couple world championships with SDC Corps. That through 2022. And then I stepped away from competition then full-time to work full-time and hang out with the kiddo and my wife and go camping again.
Nice. That's
awesome.
And
then outside of VFS free fly, I competed in canopy piloting from 2014 to 2017. Won the FLCPA and USPA Nationals in the advanced class in 2016. Been on a handful of records in various orientations between 2013, 14, and I don't know. I wasn't on the last 200 way or 180 something way, but I was on most of them prior to that.
And you mentioned something about what you do today, and you said, sorry, what's his name? Andy Locke? Is that what
Andy
you
Locke?
No.
Yeah.
So, and you said you guys still to this day are good friends and work together.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you doing?
I teach military free fall still, but as a defense contractor.
Okay. And he does that with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more question just about the paper that you have hanging on your wall. In the civilian world, you're a tandem examiner
I am. Well,
for UPT.
I'm not current anymore, but yes, I've been a
Okay.
tandem examiner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just gonna blend into some of the questions that I've got.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't go over the civilian ratings, but I did the military ratings. Civilian, AFFI, coach AFFI, TI, tandem examiner, coach examiner, SNTA, senior rigger, pilot. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
I like being in the air.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
Okay,
I love it.
so we spent 30 minutes talking about just Johnny. So now we're gonna talk about a little bit about skydiving. But there have been a couple of incidents that have happened recently, Johnny, that I know you're aware of. We've talked about a couple of them, and I just wanted your perspective. Most of our listeners, I'd say, are somewhere between 200, maybe 1,000 jumps total, and sometimes the stories that circulate around incidents become more of the truth than what actually happened. And so the first one that I want to ask your opinion about is the tandem pair that got hung up by their Y strap, and the tandem instructor eventually fell from the harness. And Chris and I talked about this a little bit on a previous show, I think. But I wanted your opinion about the situation, not only the incident as it happened, but also I was hoping you would just tell us what you think of the Y mod generally.
I've been off social media for about a year and a half. I don't know if I saw any traffic on that. I think I briefly heard some folks talking about it. I don't know if I know enough about that specific incident to make an educated opinion. You talking about the instructor out of the harness? That one?
Yeah, they caught on the little step out of the 182, and
Yeah.
they hung there for quite a while. And at some point, the instructor became separated from the equipment. And
Yeah. I mean, if the instructor becomes separated, the only thing I can imagine is you wouldn't have your leg straps on. Like, it's pretty hard to imagine that somebody would disconnect both leg straps to free themselves from something, knowing that it's certain death. I think there's some other options there. As far as the Y mod, I feel like there's always a knee jerk reaction to something. I've done, I don't know, 1,000 tandems without the Y mod. Never had a student come close to slipping out. Taken people of all various sizes. It starts with the gear up, and man, you have to know how to put the harness on correctly, be trained correctly, train the passenger correctly, and kind of not give a shit if they're uncomfortable if you're putting it on tight. Outside of that, I just don't know. I think that was, but now granted, we've had the Y mod in the military for a long time. We're also jumping significant amounts of weight and equipment and everything else that make it harder to tighten down certain portions of it. But I think that was kind of like the dummy button, like the easy button to make it easier if you do make a mistake, that it can prevent fatal injury for sure.
Can you give, because a lot of people aren't going to know what you're talking about, Y mod.
So on from the back of the tandem harness to either the waistband or the back of the tandem harness to the back of the leg straps, a Y mod that will essentially, if something's loose in that area, if you go into a pike position and start to slip out of the harness, that Y mod's going to prevent you from doing that.
okay, so Johnny, can you back up even further and just give your version of the reason why the Y mod was implemented?
Are you specifically asking about the woman that fell out of the harness?
I didn't think she fell out. I thought that.
Well, there was one that didn't and one that did. The paraplegic that fell out.
Paraplegia fell out.
Yeah. The woman did not fall out. And again, if you look at the video and you can clearly see that there's a gearing up issue. That harness was not on her tight whatsoever on the lower half. For what it's worth, not the most athletic fit individual. And when you've got mush and straps, it's going to move around. So you do have to tighten that stuff down still, no matter how uncomfortable it's going to be.
So again, just because our listeners maybe haven't been around skydiving that long, I think this was maybe 16 years ago,
Man,
15.
at least.
Yeah,
I
but
would say at least.
there was a tandem that the video was made public after the fact where a somewhat elderly woman who was, Johnny's being polite, she was quite unfit. But you don't have to be fit to do a tandem, so it's not really a dig on her. She just wasn't a fit person. And that when they went out, she basically was also pretty flexible, and she folded. And so, Chris, have you seen the video we're talking about?
No, I don't think I want to.
Yeah, I mean, it was frightening for everybody. Certainly the videographer and the instructor were frightened. Like, it looked like she was going to fall out. The instructor did what he thought was right. He deployed high, and it ended up that she stayed in the system. But then when the video was published, there was an uproar about how close it had come to being probably, I mean, fatality. If she falls out, it's a fatality. And then a paraplegic person went on a skydive, and they were also no muscle tone. And so the harness, as it was put on, it's not really. I mean, they want to accommodate people, but it's not really built for those kind of extremes of the range. And so he didn't weigh very much, and he didn't have any muscle tone, and he did fold, and he did come out, and that was a fatality.
And I mean, I've done quite a few handful of exceptional tandems where you've got somebody that's partially paralyzed, paraplegic, missing limbs, whatever it may be, and you've got to know what you're doing, and you have to ask somebody that's done it before. Hopefully, you can get some mentorship in that arena. There are modifications and stuff you can do to make them more comfortable and to make your life easier as a TI. One of the absolute best mentors I've had in the sport, OJ Anderson, JRuss knows him, phenomenal rigger, phenomenal instructor, helped me create a leg lift, like a 3-to-1 hoist to be able to get a paralyzed person's legs up. I also in the past have taken pool noodles and put a pool noodle between their legs, some Velcro straps. So it creates a redundant system, right? Like even in the fact that if they were to fold and go out of that system, if there wasn't a Y mod, they have 4 or 5 Velcro straps that are around their legs with the pool noodles in between to ensure they're not rubbing bone on bone or anything like that. And I mean, it's just another fail safe, right? And it keeps them more secure in the harness. Or if they have an appendage, an arm or something that isn't usable, you can Velcro that to one of the chest strap or the belly band in the front. And again, it's not going to allow them to be able to go into that pike position or noodle themselves out of the back.
And so that what I'm about to say is not a dig on any manufacturer. I feel like there were a couple situations that made it apparent that an issue was there and needed to be addressed, and the Y mod was UPT's way to address that issue.
Yeah.
In the years since, the Y mod itself has been an issue. And do you have an opinion about sort of the efficacy of the fix that was implemented, and is there a better one? As I understand it,
do you have a specific incident?
Well, this is anecdotal. I would need to look it up, but it was my feeling for some time that the Y mod had been at least tangential to 8 fatalities that were in some way attributed to that piece of equipment. And that's not always true. Like, it can get attributed to that because they can't think of anything else, or I don't know, that there's not enough evidence, and they say, oh, it might have been this. But for a one fatality situation that resulted in a change that then may have been a factor in 8 other fatalities. Kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face is the expression that comes to mind. But like, is there a better way? Is there something that we could do? And I don't know. Like, I don't have details of those 8 potential fatalities, if I'm even correct. Um, but I'm wondering if you do, if you have an idea about, could the system have been geared differently with the Y mod tighter, or like, is there anything, like you just said, as far as you really need to know your student and you really need to get them geared up properly, that potentially could make the Y mod safer and still do its function?
I don't personally know of any specific incidences that translated into fatalities with the Y mod personally, but they, again, it goes back to just the basics. Gearing up a student right, ensuring that the harness is on correctly in the right place, tight enough. I mean, I've taken passengers of all shapes and sizes with the Y mod and without the Y mod, and it all starts with the gear up. And right, wrong, or indifferent, there's different drop zones that, for lack of a better term, are tandem factories, and you may not be gearing your student up, but it is your responsibility as the TI to ensure that it's on correctly, regardless of how fast you're going throughout the day, to ensure that it is on correctly.
Yeah. Okay. So the other incident, actually, there's 2 others that I want to ask you about, but the next one. Sorry, Chris, do you have anything? Do you want to pop in a question, or are you good?
No, the only thing I want at some point, I want us to talk about tracking.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try not to take this too long. We can finish on tracking. Johnny or Chris, did you guys see video of a person climbing out of a plane, launches its reserve, it captures the tail?
Yes. Oh, it's horrible. Oh man, looks so painful.
Looks
He was
bad.
okay.
Yeah.
I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I'm like Johnny. I'm not on social media, so a lot of this stuff gets to me secondhand. Sometimes Steph will show me these things, and in this case, she did show me this one. And the story, as I was told, was that he started hook knifing his reserve to get it, because it was on the tail, and I believe the plane landed with it on the tail.
Correct.
And then at some point deployed his main while still in the door, or so close out of the door that his main fouled in the reserve that he didn't quite get cut off.
Yeah. So
Wait, what?
I saw the video on it, and man, the dude did a good job in a stressful situation. As he was hook knifing it away, there was a portion of it that was still attached, 1 or 2 lines, some fabric. Obviously, it's going to give somewhere and it's going to tear, especially being the low pack volume, very thin F111 material. And unfortunately, a portion of that looked like it did get hung up in some of the lines on his main as he deployed it. But man, like, pretty heads up thinking in a very, very high stress situation, to have the forethought to not cut away and fire his reserve, which we're all taught from the beginning, and to pull the hook knife out, cut his reserve away with a hook knife, and just deploy his main.
Well, and somebody brought up to me, they're like, dude, he could have. I mean, think about all the violence of where he was at, and he held on to his hook knife. Like,
yeah,
how easy it would have been to drop it. Like,
I mean, you got your rest of your life to think about it, right?
Do what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, dude, like, insane.
Yeah. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Until they get headbutted in the eye.
He did okay afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question, then we can talk about tracking a little bit. But I wanted your opinion about, because in the talking about, was the Y mod a good thing if it resulted in more accidents than it prevented, and again, we don't know that, because it could have prevented a ton of accidents that, well, they didn't happen, so we don't know that was a thing. I got into a discussion with another guy that we work with. I'm going to leave out names because I don't have permission to talk about it from him, but he was talking about an AFF examiner, that when I took the course, when you took the course, we were not allowed to pull for our instructors. And in fact, I was specifically told, don't touch my shit. And so you pulled the dummy handle or you gave a tap or whatever your system was. And now students are required to actually dump out their instructor. And
Great.
in this situation, the main side guy pulled, and as the evaluator is getting stood up, the guy dumped her reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And she had 2 out, and she managed to downplane and cut away.
Perfect.
But that's getting pretty spicy. And so I don't always know what's happening on the sort of the instructor side or the side that you participate in. And I'm curious, what's your thoughts on mandating that people pull for their instructor? And was there something they were trying to fix? Were they feeling like AFFIs were coming out of their course like hesitant to pull for their student if they needed to?
I would find it hard to believe that you would be hesitant to pull for your student, but I'm speaking only from my experience, right?
Yeah,
I
but
do
that's
think,
important, right? Like you
yeah,
graduated just like I did, not allowed to
yeah.
pull, and the first time my student needed it, I dumped him out.
Well, but I got my MFFI about 9 months to a year before I went through AFFI, so I learned all on military gear and everything else. I think if you are going to have students do a live pull, you should have an appropriately sized parachute for that, right? You and I jump Valkyries, small Valkyries. I don't think that's the best parachute. I I think it's better than say a Comp Velo or something equivalent that has less of a propensity for spinning up off your back or whatever it may be. Um, but having a large student size canopy can save some of those situations, right? Mostly just the speed at which things happen. I would not want to have my Valkyrie 79 coming out with my PD 113 or my OP 113 behind it in that scenario. If I was having students do a live poll, I'd go grab a Navigator 280 from the school and put that out because that's what the candidate's going to be dealing with anyways. I do think there's validity to doing a live poll and learning how to ride through and when to let go. Um, but you should be on the appropriately sized parachute if you're going to do that for sure.
Okay.
Can you explain to me how that happened? Okay, so there was 2 people getting their instructor rating. Is that correct? One of them pulled the main.
Yeah.
How did the other pull the reserve? They actually pulled the reserve handle. Why?
Probably was red, and the dummy handle on the back was red. And when
but I mean, we're talking about a normal rig, a normal rig, right? Like,
sure.
Why would they do that?
Are you an AFFI, Chris?
I'm sorry?
Are you an AFFI?
No.
So it gets pretty stressful on the bottom end when you're doing doing an air skills evaluation because you're in a stressful situation. B, you're under the microscope. C, you've got a lot of self-induced stress because you've paid a lot of money to get this rating and you've done a lot of work to get to it. Yeah. And maybe you're a half a step behind and you're not a half a step ahead. And you looked up and you saw a red reserve handle that's the same color as the fake ripcord grip on the back. And in that panic moment, you grabbed whatever you saw that was red and you pulled it. I've seen it happen a few times.
Really?
And the other thing is, Chris, Johnny's right. Like the bottom end gets stressful when you've got your rating. The bottom end gets stressful. Things start to happen real fast. And if you're in the course, like I had about 800 jumps when I went through the course, which I think was more than what was required. But I don't know the current requirements. Like a tandem is 500.
C license in 6 hours of free fall time.
Okay, so it's definitely possible, and I don't know the specifics of that incident, but it's definitely possible that he felt like on the reserve side, we're getting low. I haven't seen the pilot shoot. I have to do my job, which in this case is to pull the reserve. He extracts the handle and, oh God, there's her pilot chute, and can't put that back in the jar.
in kind of,
Okay.
again, going
Fair
back to the jumping an appropriately sized parachute, jump a student rig, right? If you're going to do that, if you have the availability to do it, jump a student rig. Like Skydive Arizona has, I forget what the brand, it's a Rigging Innovations student rig. And it has the flap on the bottom with a cutaway handle. That from the reserve side, you can pull that handle, the BOC opens up, and the pilot chutes right there. And you just grab it and throw it out. Or you can, reach across with your long arms a foot and a half and dump it out from the other side as well. If you're not in, you're not in the red line the whole time. I would say a last resort, last worst case scenario would be dumping a student out on reserve. But man, you better be 100% sure that they're not going back for that main. I've actually, I've had a scenario like that. I jumped at I'll save the name, but it was a drop zone with what I would describe gutter gear. I worked there one day and I never worked there again. Um,
Can
the
I guess?
I'm not going to confirm it. So the student he was a heads up guy. He was a helicopter pilot. Like, I mean, I've flown helicopters and it's not easy to do. It's pretty stressful. He went out, had a good jump, but they were I think the last drop zone in the U.S. that was using spring-loaded pilot chutes, and he deployed. Spring-loaded pilot chute came out, canopy opens up, but he dropped his ripcord handle. Got berated for it on the ground. The DZO made him pay whatever $5-10 to get a new one. The rigger packed the rig, put a new handle in there. I did a gear check on him. Everything checked out as good as I could see. Unbeknownst to me, in the closing loop or below the closing loop, they had a smaller weight Dacron line that was in there as the closing loop. There was a crack in the plastic coating over the cable, and that crack kind of sunk that Dacron into it. So we got to the bottom end. The student made an attempt. He was coming back to make another attempt, and I grabbed it. I'm not a super strong guy, but I'm definitely not weak. And I got my hand on it and I couldn't deploy his main. And as I was doing that, the student, I think it was like jump 6 or 7 for him. He rolled to his back. So now we're at 3,500 feet at this point. He rolls to his back. I reach down, go for his reserve, get his cutaway. Ditch his cutaway, reach for his reserve. He reaches for his reserve. We both dump it. I dump, and I think I saddled out probably at maybe 900 feet, 1,000 feet. So we were quickly approaching Cypress Town for both of us.
Dang.
And I was this was 13, 14 years ago, and probably 10,000 student jumps ago. It was an eye-opener for me. My best friend was on the main side, or I take it back. That was a different jump. Yeah. So all that went down.
Dude.
My buddy was on that plane load. We land and he comes back and he's like, "Hey man, you good?" And I was like, "Yep." Went over, checked the student's rig. The Cypress hadn't fired. Like we'd gotten his reserve out before that. We went back into their packing area, and the DZO grabbed it and ripped with all of his might now that the reserve was out, and was able to pull it. And he's like, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "Pay me for the jumps that I just did, man, because I'm getting the fuck out of here. Like, I'm never going to come back to your drop zone."
Dude.
It gets spicy.
I know where you were at.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Johnny, you're the guest, and I do lots of tracking and seminars and stuff like that. But let's hear from you. How does this guy get started in tracking? How does he learn all the information that goes into leading a track?
So let me just get real quick for the audience. I got an email from a guy, a listener, just asking us to talk about tracking some. He didn't give a ton of detail, but basically just saying, "Hey, this is something I'd like to know more about." He kind of indicated that he wanted to get better at it, wanted to progress, but also wanted to know, like, what are the right ways to be thinking about planning the, movement jumps, tracking jumps. What are the things to consider? I'm adding some details that I think are, pertinent, but all that stuff. So I love it when we get emails or messages from people asking for certain topics, I think that's great. And it's exciting, I think, for me and JRuss both, that we get to talk about things people want to hear about. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So tracking.
A lot of different. I think there's like 3 or 4 different roads we can go down here. Number one, go to Summerfest and jump in the beginner group for tracking and angles, and jump with JRuss. And you're going to learn a lot because he goes with the beginner group every day, all day, the entire boogie,
Over and over and
over
over.
and over. And I think I did that 1 year with him, and it was, man, it's work because you got the beginners and you're taking, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people out, and yeah. But there's a wealth of knowledge to be learned there. Get coaching from a reputable coach. I know that's easier said than done at a lot of drop zones. If you have, I think, JRuss, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Sharon Harnoy Pilcher put out a pretty good video, maybe on YouTube or something, or maybe through UPT, I can't remember, but she also teaches a leading tracking course, and she did a seminar on it. I know you can find it online, and had I known this question was going to come up, I would have texted her and to see where they can find that information, because there's a lot of really good information that she put out in that
Yeah,
seminar.
she does the leading workshop, and
Yeah.
I've talked to her specifically about it, and she's shared with me a lot of the stuff that she covers. But also, I've questioned students that went through it, and they all love it. It's been
Yeah.
really, really good.
And she's a phenomenal coach and human
Yeah,
being. So
and a great teacher. She's a very
yeah,
good teacher. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Another avenue would be to go to camps, more specifically like a Fly for Life camp, or a UPT flight camp. It's a lot of the same coaches, a lot of the same vibe. I I found myself, this probably would have been like 2017, 2018. Uh, I had been doing a lot of stuff for myself and a lot of coaching, but I hadn't been working to better myself as a coach in a long time. What I mean by that is being a student. I think it's very important for people that are coaching to put themselves in the student role again, with a new task, whatever it may be. It's humbling, right? To do something you're not good at, to learn it from a new start. So I went down to a Fly for Life camp, 2017, 2018. Man, that's those guys' bread and butter. That's all they do. No different than you want to do VFS or big ways, talk to JRuss. Like, it's you go out with those guys and the vibe's great. The coaches are absolutely top notch. And a term that I've used a lot throughout my career is, man, you're poaching coaching. Like, go out and listen to the analogies, listen to what they're saying, write it down, take some notes, have some purpose, and walk away with that knowledge. Not that you're now an expert in it, but you've got it's like building a house. You need a good foundation, otherwise the house is going to fall apart, right? So that's a good place to get a good solid foundation in tracking.
I'm sorry because it got kind of loud, but I just wanted to add that when Johnny said that about Sharon, I had YouTube open. So I just typed in skydiving, tracking, leading Sharon, and the Crave course came up with Luis Pinetto and Sharon
Oh yeah,
Arnoy
it was
Pilcher.
it was on Crave. That's right.
Yep. But then as I just scroll down into the other available videos, how to get into angle flying under Skydive 101, tracking at breakoff by Rhythm Skydiving. That's the sponsor team at Skydive Chicago.
Yeah.
And then movement fundamentals from Skydive Coastal Carolina's angle tracking camp. Tips and tricks for tracking and angles down under dynamics. That's Mason Corby from Australia. He's a freaking amazing shredder. Ali Milne is a very well-known British coach and flyer, and he's giving a skydiving tracking progression. Sharon and Chris, our host Chris, with the Crave Show, exits on angle jumps. So in addition to what Johnny said, I just want to say there's some very available stuff just on YouTube, where at least you can get started and try to figure out, to start to know what you don't know, so that you can go maybe ask the right questions when you do get to one of the places that Johnny suggested.
And then I think a big part of it too is I'll steal a term I learned early on in my coaching from Andy Locke. As a coach, you've got to keep your expectations in check, right? You go to a course, you get some coaching. You probably shouldn't go out and lead a whole plane load tracking dive, right? Like keep it small, keep it safe, till you build the confidence and you have a repertoire that you could work with. And then tacking onto that, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. The dog was rubbing on my lap and I was rubbing her head. Yeah, poaching coaching, keep your expectations in check, and then just build on that. The other big part of it too is you have to have the awareness, right? Like you have to have the awareness because a tracking dive can get away from you very, very, very quick. You put the wrong people in the same group. You don't have a good brief. You don't have the right weather. You don't have the right direction. You got to make sure that you're not putting other people's lives in danger for sure when you're the one leading that.
So I want to let's see if we can. That's really good, and that leads right into what I want to say next. Let's see if we can give some good practical information to some of the listeners. So I'm going to show using my little dummy. I'm going to give one practical tip for body position, like actually tracking a flying, that I think is maybe one of them, from my experience, is the most common thing that people need to fix. While I'm saying that, you guys think about what are the things that maybe another practical tip that you can give for actual like flying the tracking, or what are the things that you need to consider on a tracking jump, a movement jump, whether you are the leader or not. You need to care about these things and make sure that the leader is paying attention to them. And you mentioned a couple of seconds ago, but we can, not that we have to get into all of them like in great detail because we don't have a ton of time, but we can at least list them off and kind of have the conversation going. But the specific tip that I want to give people for tracking to actually do good, effective tracking is just learn to de-arch. That's the main thing that I see people not figuring out. Like, right, you're used to flying on your belly. In AFF, we're saying arch, 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 arch. And when you're tracking away from your AFF jumps, I can almost guarantee you're still arched. Arms are back, legs are straight, but I can almost guarantee you're still arched. Learn how to de-arch your body, breaking your hips a little bit, actually concaving your chest, rolling your shoulders forward a little bit. That will make a huge difference on your glide ratio. That will give you more power. It will get you further away from the people that you're trying to get away from. That's the one practical body position tip that I think will help a ton of people. Learn to de-arch.
Yep. I think that, body position on tracking versus leading tracking dives for sure. You should also but you need to be in the body position that the leader, the group, everybody's going to fly a little bit different. But if it's a slow, faster fall rate skydive, now you might find yourself getting away from it, which can put you in a precarious situation where now you think you need to go no lift, which if that wasn't briefed prior to it, we had an incident out here at Skydive Arizona on a staff load before my time working here that somebody was attacking the jump and they went into a no lift scenario, vertical essentially, and they came down and somebody else was attacking from behind. Both were knocked unconscious.
Oh man.
One of them did not have an AED. But fortunately, there was an AFF instructor, Matt Grice, that was behind him that saw it happen, saw it unfold, and was able to get to him and dump him out.
Jeez,
So again, it's going back to keeping your expectations in check and taking the blinders off and being able to see everything that's around you is paramount for those kinds of jumps for sure.
I didn't know that about Matt, but
Yeah.
Man, I was going to say that the person that Johnny was on a team with, who's now on my team, who could handle all of our personalities, and he has to handle mine as well, is Andy. And Andy was on leading a movement jump and allowed someone to come on the jump that he didn't know very well, and that person didn't have the skill set. to be on that jump, and he knocked another person unconscious, and Andy chased him down. And I don't know too many guys who have done that in my career. It's a small handful as far as I know. I've never had to do it, and I think I'm a good flyer, and I never want to have to do that
Yes.
because I don't. The times I've seen it, like outside video, Josh Evans, you know Josh. I know Johnny probably knows Josh,
yeah.
but
I know Josh very well.
Josh is a tremendously good flyer, on par with most people in the world. There's a few people who are better than Josh, not very many. And watching him chase down an unconscious person was frightening. He's so good, and it took him so long to get the guy.
Like he can get up
Yeah.
and get down to anybody.
It was crazy. It took him a while. Andy tracked the guy down pretty quick. By his words, I don't think I'm putting words in his mouth to say he felt like he got a little bit lucky, like the guy came to him. So anyway, just we're gonna watch that video eventually. Andy still got it, but it's a pretty trippy video.
I mean, it's literally a viral video that's been all over the internet.
Yeah.
It's not hard to find. Is it Skydive Dallas? Skydive Dallas.
Yeah. I think if you're going to start thinking about leading, that you have needed to be a follower for a long time.
Yeah.
And there are some fundamental rules to angle flying and tracking that I think that you need to be very well versed in, so that you can clearly communicate those things. And like the course that Johnny talked about, or when I give the beginner angle seminar, I don't spend any time, and this is not to degrade what you said, Chris, but I don't spend time with those guys talking about body position. I only talk to them about the rules around movement jumps that I think are going to keep them safe, so that they start having an awareness level that Johnny talked about. You got to have the awareness, because if they're not aware of the rules, I don't care how good or bad they fly, they're going to create an unsafe situation just because they don't know the rules. And so my rules might not be the same as everybody's rules, but I bet they're pretty close. And so if you get into a reputable course, Sharon's course is excellent. The leadership course through Fly for Life is amazing. There are other leadership courses around, but those tidbits of information you have to be able to communicate to your students, or you're not a leader, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Did we cover it, Chris? You think we're good on the tracking?
Well, there's so much there, and we could talk about that for a couple hours, probably, couldn't we?
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to talk about every one of those rules and dig into them and the whys and the wherefores, like there's a lot there, and I think that's the point.
I don't want to cut you off. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so going back, circling back to, I told you some of the most dangerous skydives I've ever been on were with some buddies, some friends at the military freefall school that were exceptional instructors for their jump numbers, not exceptional skydivers, right? We were doing a going away jump for a guy, and he wanted to go on a tracking dive. I was the resident skydiver that had been out at Skydive Elsinore on the weekends, jumping with Andy Malchiotti, Brad Cole. Brad Cole had led me on, him and Mel Curtis led me on I don't know how many tracks at bogeys and everything else. So I brought some of that knowledge back, and I gave the brief. And I've been an instructor now for probably 25 years in all walks of my life, through the military, through skydiving, through wrestling, through everything. I give a pretty solid brief. But I can't make you remember the brief, right? Like you have to pay attention and listen to what's being put out. And it's not just for my own edification, it's for your safety, right? I brief, it's a highway. It's a highway. You don't just turn around and go the wrong way on the highway. And we had guys that didn't know how to throttle the speed horizontally. A couple guys got out ahead. They're in their mind, they're really good skydivers because they've always been told they're good skydivers, and they're really good instructors. So they turn around and track back at the formation to turn back around to get back into their slot. Fortunately, nothing bad happened, but it's a terrifying scenario. So listen to the damn brief, and listen to what's being put out, because it's being put out for a reason, whether there's been an incident or whatever it may be. Yeah.
Okay, so what about people who are at a drop zone where there's not a lot of experience, or maybe there's not a brief? And what's the advice for them? Just go by themselves? Don't go? Find information somewhere else? What?
The hard part there too, right? Like I've got an example. So we were doing a free fly money meet or something here at Skydive Arizona, and there was a young jumper instructor. We know he's a young jumper instructor. I don't think he did, but he got out and was doing a solo tracking jump. This kid works at the school, so he's an instructor at the school. He jumps at Skydive Arizona. The jump runs either north or south. We all know what east or west is. It's always the same thing every single day. He got out 2 groups ahead of me, and I let him go out, and I grabbed the next group in the door to prevent them from leaving. So I just wanted to make sure I could see where he was going, and he was backtracking solo up the line of flight. I mean, the only thing going up the line of flight is the airplane. For your point of reference, in Arizona is mostly cloudless days, unless you're paying attention to where the sun's at, right? I waited for him to turn off jump run. He did. I let that group go out. 7, 8, 9 seconds later, my group goes out. Or excuse me, there was 2 groups between he and I. It goes to pull time. My free fly group breaks off. I open up, and I have somebody within about 50 feet of me. And it was this individual. And to say I had a case of the ass was one of my least favorable moments for myself on a drop zone. I almost threw a Yeti cup through his head because he smiled when I was trying to tell him what he did wrong, and he said he didn't do anything wrong. Doing solo tracking dives can be very hairy if you're trying to learn how to lead a tracking dive on your back by yourself and you don't have any reference points. Man, you got to get coaching, right? Or find the one person or the OG, the instructor. I mean, your instructors, your S&TAs, somebody should have a pretty decent understanding, regardless of what drop zone you're at. If you don't have that, you probably should not be leading other people, because then you just have the blind leading the blind.
Yeah. So I mean, one of the things that makes me thinking that I hear you saying without saying is that just because we track away at the end of every jump doesn't mean that that's the same thing as doing a full-on tracking jump. That is not the same thing.
When you're tracking for 5 to 10 seconds from a 4-way is considerably different than when you're tracking for 50 seconds on a skydive.
Yeah. Out the door.
And you can cover some ground. I mean, even inexperienced kids or inexperienced skydivers can cover some ground.
Even if they're using a poor body position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think too, like they're tracking opposite line of the flight and they were one of the last ones out. The plane typically flies into the wind. Now you've got ground speed versus air speed. And now you could have 60 knot uppers. Man, you can cover some absolute ground on a tracking dive. Then if you add pitch and angle into it, like an angle jump, it's going to go even faster further.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying so hard to find this meme that Johnny sent me because it would have fit so well with the story that he just told, but I can't find it. I'm going to do my best to describe it, though, and Johnny's going to remember immediately. But it would have been a great cap to the end of the show. And it's a meme of, hopefully everybody knows who Jack Nicholson is, but he's got his crazy hair and his eyes are like, and it's the meme underneath is me at the bar watching the frat boy guys talk some shit to the 40-year-old with cauliflower ears.
Yeah.
About to get beat down.
It's been a saving grace. I don't know how many times in bars when a bigger dude bumps into me and I turn around and he's like, never mind. Never mind, man.
I would have that, except I wear headgear. There's an intelligence quotient in there somewhere, but I don't know what it is.
I mean, it's once you get to a higher level, JRuss, you're not allowed to wear headgear. So.
Oh, burn.
You can't wear headgear at the international level.
I cannot. I wish I could find that meme. It's so good. But
I said that to you years ago, didn't I? Or you said it to me or something? Yeah. Something like
that. Okay. Well, it's been an hour and 15 minutes, and it's been good stuff. Johnny, you got anything to add? You want to shout out to anybody? You want to tell anybody anything special?
I have the most amazing wife in the world. Yeah, that's about it. And a beautiful little daughter that amazes me every day. That's about it.
Yeah, you got some cool dogs too.
My dogs are pretty awesome. The deaf dog is coming along, man.
Yeah. So John, there was a desert dog that was coming into work every day and super sweet. And Johnny took it home, which was great. It's now their daughter's dog.
Yeah. We had a special moment as I was loading her up in the back of my car, and JRuss walked up to her and put his hands on both sides, and he was like, "Kiddo, you have no idea the lottery you just hit."
Yeah,
and it made my heart melt.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
like JRuss and
So good.
Steph, Megan and I absolutely adore our dogs, and they're not pets, man. They're part of our family. So
Yeah.
And my daughter just absolutely adores her. It's her dog, and unbeknownst to us, though, she's 100% deaf, and we didn't know that when we brought her home. So it's been a chore with a 3.5-year-old and a deaf dog.
Yeah.
All the training.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool.
All right. Well, it's that time. You've done it again. You've wasted another perfectly good hour listening to the Crave Show with Chris, JRuss, and Johnny Gunn. Johnny, thank you so much for joining us, man. Really,
Awesome,
really
man.
nice to meet you. Nice to get to hang
Ditto.
out and talk and hear stories. Hopefully someday soon we'll get to jump together, man.
Well, I mean, you said you've never been to Phoenix. Why don't you come down to Arizona and hang out with us?
I need to. I've never jumped in Arizona. I need to come see y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 2 miles from the drop zone, man. We got a place.
Okay, awesome. And
Let
if
me
you
know.
come to Texas, you just come stay with me and we'll jump.
All right, sounds good, buddy.
Awesome. JRuss, thank you. Johnny,
Thanks,
thank
Johnny.
you. If
you
you're
guys.
listening, thanks for listening to us. Do what? What's up?
We're not recording this week for holidays, and we'll catch back up after the New Year.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. That's right. That's right.
Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate.
Whatever you say.
For those of you who are listening, I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy John Jones, who is a civilian skydiver, a military guy, and he asked, could we get John LeBlanc on the show? And John has agreed in principle. We don't have a date yet, so that's coming up. Kind of a pioneer of the canopy part of skydiving. And also Bill Booth is going to be on the show from
that's cool.
UPT Vector. And gosh, there was one other person that I just wanted to whet people's appetite, but as it happens commonly, I don't remember. So yeah, that's it.
We'll
hopefully everybody has a good holiday.
Each other for years, dude. It's okay.
Johnny and I are 51st dates so many times. Like, bro, did I tell you this? And he's like, I don't know, but tell me again.
Yeah, and Steph and Megan just roll their eyes.
Because we've told each other like 20 times, but it's such a good story.
It's funny.
That happened to you? No way. I can't believe that happened. And it's like the 20th time you heard the story.
Sounds mildly familiar, but it's great.
Man, it's amazing. Well, Johnny, we like to tell people, our listeners, man, get out there and enjoy the sky. Like,
absolutely,
just have fun. We get to jump out of airplanes, dude. I just can't believe it. Like, we get to jump out of airplanes and fall. It's just so fun. It is so fun, Like, I just want people to have a good time. Enjoy being up there. Push yourself. Have fun. Enjoy being in the air with your friends. And crave. Do more. Be better. Thanks, you guys.
Cool. Thanks,
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
See ya.